With Saka leaving the Crystal Palace Stadium on crutches after picking up a hamstring injury, we could see him out for the next 3 Premier League matches. So we need to talk about the best replacements for him in your FPL teams and of course discuss my transfer plan. So as always, if you look forward to today's video, make sure you drop a like and of course smash the subscribe button for daily fantasy content. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, a quick recap on how game week 17 went, and unfortunately it was another red arrow to 271,000, but I'm going to be honest with you, it could have been a lot worse. So I ended up doing really early on in that week 8 Nori to Munoz. I knew he was suspended, but I felt like that was a long-term player that I wanted in my team, and I was really hopeful after the news of Silva saying that Anderson had trained that he was going to be available for selection. Didn't prove to be the case as he was selected but stayed on the bench for a 0-pointer. Not ideal. I started Fabianski over Sells. I wanted to play the home fixture for West Ham. That backfired with a 7-pointer for Sells on my bench. Trent with the 4-pointer and Gabriel with the 4-pointer. I'm fine with that. I wasn't expecting a Liverpool clean sheet away against Spurs, so for him to pick up an assist is an added bonus, and now he's a very popular player going into game week 18 with that fantastic home fixture against Leicester. Into the midfield, Salah basically covering over all of the cracks in this team. 42 points, of course, 21-pointer, doubled with the captaincy. We spoke about all week how I thought he was by far and away the standout option with goals in that Spurs game, and thankfully that came to fruition with that situation because my alternative in Cole Palmer basically blanked with a 3-pointer and was quite disappointing for his standards. So that was a big swing in terms of captaincy. Gordon continues to frustrate. He picks up another assist, but when we compare that to his Newcastle compatriot, Alexander Isak, who bagged a hat-trick, it really does look like a bad decision now going for a little bit of an alternative move of Trent and Gordon compared to Isak and Lewis Hall. That could have been one of the combinations that I went for. But look, Gordon's still ticking over okay, an assist and a home game against Aston Villa coming up, one to discuss for my team. But the big one, of course, is going to be Bukayo Saka. So went off after 25 minutes, holding this hamstring, left the stadium on crutches. It wasn't Arteta impersonating Saka. It was definitely Saka. And we've had Arteta come out in the press conference and say that it might not be good news. And we've also had journalists report that it could be up to 3 weeks. Now, with the busy fixture schedule, of course, that does mean that Saka probably is going to miss the next 3 league matches, which is massive. And that is enough of a period to not be holding Bukayo Saka in your FPL teams. You can wait to see if we get more information before that deadline on Boxing Day, but of course every day you wait you could be losing out value on him. So I definitely will be selling him, and we will touch on that in this video. In terms of the front three, Vissel, the 1-pointer, disappointing because he has been the main man for me this season, and at home I always fancy him. His numbers were still good, so I'm not completely off Brentford as an attack right now. Cunha with a 9-pointer, really delivering after those rumours of getting a ban started, thankfully with the 9-pointer, and then João Pedro with the 2-pointer, the man who continues to frustrate my team and many other FPL managers. The big one, Semenyo on the bench with that 8-pointer, but I never was considered starting him away against Man United. That really was a surprise result of the weekend. So 75 points, a small red arrow. It could have been a lot worse. I'm okay with it, but we need to bounce back in game week 18. So let's take a look at my transfer plans. So here's how my team is looking for game week 18 without any transfers being made. So one free transfer, only 0.1 million in the bank. Hence why monitoring that Saka price change is really important, because it could price me out of certain combinations. So in terms of the goalkeepers, I have no concerns right now. I'm a little bit indecisive, but I think I'm going to play the home fixture of Forest. They're just proven to be such a great defensive team, and I'll just let Fabianski sit on the bench away against Southampton, who inevitably will pick up a double-digit haul. In terms of defence, again, no defensive issues this week. Munoz away against Bournemouth, not ideal, but I do prefer it to my alternatives of Vandenberg and Anderson away against Chelsea. And then we got Trent at home against Leicester. I'm hoping he plays that game. I'm almost certain he will. And then we got Gabriel at home against Ipswich. So the defence for once actually looks okay. In terms of the midfield, now, Salah obviously we're keeping at home against Leicester. Spoiler alert, he's going to be my captain. I see no world again where you can go against Mo Salah unless you have a slight worry about his minutes. And Cole Palmer, I'm not panicking about him. He also is a stick in this team. But the other three players are actually up for grabs right now. So, of course, Semenyo at home against Palace isn't terrible. But apart from the Arsenal game, Palace have actually been okay defensively. So, even though Bournemouth are a good team, I'm not expecting loads of goals in that game, but is it enough for me to sell Semenyo in my situation right now? I think the answer is going to be no. So I think Semenyo is going to stick in the team, as per Gordon. Now, as you can see, there's no Alexander Isak in this team, which is a big, big problem. And one combination that I can do, and I will show you later on in the video, is to Saka down to Bruno Fernandes and then upgrade Cunha to Alexander Isak and just get it done. Stop being a naive FPL manager. Understand that Isak is a fantastic option and just get it done. It would mean that I'm in a position where I'm up with double Newcastle. But is that a terrible thing right now in the form that Newcastle are in? I don't think it is. So I think Gordon is going to stick around in this team because we have to address the Saka situation. I can't be prioritising other moves like Gordon and Semenyo before actually getting the Saka move done. So he'll be leaving my team for one of my free transfers. And then I need to understand whether a -4 is going to be worth it in game week 18. Now, João Pedro, for all he's been a pain, I am going to keep him for the Brentford at home game. I just can't sell him with that fixture. So then it comes down to Cunha. Now, he obviously delivered. We need to have a think about whether a -4 from Cunha to Alexander Isak is worth it for a home game against Aston Villa, whereas Cunha's up against a Man United team who just conceded 3 goals against Bournemouth. So that's one to ponder, and we'll discuss that at the end of this video. We need to talk about Saka replacements first and foremost. So when we look at Saka replacements, what I've tried to prioritise right now is who are going to give me guaranteed minutes, the potential of penalties, and of course a bit of a talismanic figure in their respective teams. And I've come up with these 3 here. And also it's worth noting, for my own personal transfer plans, I am looking to try and retain that price point in the team of between, 8 to 10 million. Because I think if I downgrade all the way to some of the popular picks that people are discussing, let's say an Ismaila Sarr, then it really does skew the balance of my team. It would end up being a combination of course, Sarr at 5.7 million, Semenyo at 5.7 million, and then of course I will be having Gordon alongside that. So I would like to try and keep the balance of my team right now and not come all the way down to a cheap enabling midfielder. Of course, I only have one in Semenyo, but I can actually now, with the injury to Saka, get to Alexander Isak without coming all the way down to those cheap budget picks. So hence why we've got these 3 here. I have to say, there's a lot of talk about potentially going on a Phil Foden at 9.1 million. And I understand that potential because, of course, with Phil Foden's fixtures, Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich, they are unbelievable fixtures. There's no denying. But just right now, I cannot sit here and trust this Man City attack. We've seen Everton now get clean sheets against Arsenal and Chelsea. Are we just now thinking that Man City are going to blow them out the water with 5 goals? I just think there's too much uncertainty right now on both Foden and Man City. But if you want to go there, I love it as a pick. I just can't do it myself. So these are the 3 that I've concluded. Looking at the fixtures first and foremost, I think that's really important over this period. Arsenal, I believe, have the better fixtures. Ipswich at home, followed by Brentford away, who've been poor defensively, and then Brighton away. Then Spurs at home, which is always a crazy game, and then Villa, and then Wolves. So I think long-term the fixtures are brilliant for Arsenal. And Odegaard is the pick in that attack from my eyes. I think Martinelli is still a little bit undecisive on what those minutes are going to be, and I haven't seen enough from him. The problem is, Odegaard's underlying numbers aren't incredible. 0.29 expected goals per 90, 0.28 expected assists per 90 minutes. In terms of shot volume, 1.54, considerably less than the other 2. And of course, his bonus points are only 0.33. Now, I absolutely get it if people are going to Odegaard because he could suddenly be the main man in the Arsenal team in terms of goal scoring. They might have to flip it. He might have to arrive in the box much more and replace Saka on that right-hand side. But I feel like it's a lot of, it could happen, but I haven't actually seen it yet. We could see a completely different strategy from Arteta potentially. So I'm happy to miss the boat on Odegaard for now. Of course, the Ipswich game could be a big one and those sort of things could happen. But until I actually see Odegaard arrive, do all the good stuff in the final third. I just don't think I can go there right now, even though the fixtures are fantastic. So it leaves me to go for either Bruno Fernandes or Son. Now, Son's a really big one because at 9.8 million, if I go there, it does not leave me the avenue to maybe do a Cunha to Alexander Isak. So it very much is a case of Son, and I'm locking in the value at that price point. When we look at Spurs' fixtures, Forest away is not a good fixture at all. Forest have been great defensively. Then Wolves at home under a new manager. I still think that's a great fixture for Spurs. And even Newcastle at home I think is a good fixture. But then Arsenal away and Everton away, who have proved to be very, very, very resolute defensively. I think you've probably got 2 good fixtures over the next 5. And because of that, automatically, I think I am going to rule out Son as a pick. The numbers are okay actually. XG per 90 0.34, expected assist 0.52. I actually do like Son as a pick, but 9.8 million. When I got someone like Bruno Fernandes who is going to offer guaranteed game time and on penalties, I just can't justify Son right now. Now, coming off the back of a 3-0 loss, I get it. Very difficult for me to sit here and give any sort of Bruno Fernandes propaganda, but when we look at the underlying numbers right now, the first thing we need to note is that his game time is going to be absolutely locked in. I will be astonished if this guy does not play under Amorim. 3.14 shots per 90 is good. However, similar to how we look at Semenyo, we also need to look at the on target. Only 0.82 per 90. So for all his shots, he can't even score more than 1 a game because he doesn't put enough than 1 on target per game. So we do need to consider that when we are looking at Bruno. But 0.4 XG per 90, yes, some penalties in the equation. 0.28 expected assists, already better than Odegaard. And the bonus points slightly better at 0.63 per 90, but still not phenomenal. When we look at the fixtures coming up, now, Wolves away is going to be more of a trickier fixture than first before under Gary O'Neill with the new manager. Then Newcastle at home. I still don't think Newcastle are watertight defensively away from home. Liverpool away in 20, not ideal at all. But then we got the Southampton and Brighton games in 21 and 22, which I do think are really, really good for Bruno Fernandes. So when I take everything into account, guaranteed game time, already how they are playing in their respective teams and the fixtures, I think Bruno Fernandes for me is the logical pick because it also opens up the avenue for me to do the Alexander Isak move as part of a -4. So I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes. I'm pretty comfortable with that pick, but I do understand that Odegaard could now suddenly emerge as the best pick in that Arsenal attack. Let me know your best pick in the comment section. So here's my team for game week 18. As we discussed, for me, Saka to Bruno Fernandes just makes a lot of sense. And this is how the team is going to be set up. So I'm content with playing Sales at home against Spurs. I know Spurs score 3 goals against Liverpool and Spurs can score against any team, but I have to back that Forest defence as opposed to the West Ham one away against Southampton with a new manager in charge for the Saints. First home game, we could see a bit more of a buoyant atmosphere there. And in that case, I just think Sales is probably the most logical pick. In terms of the back 3, Munoz away against Bournemouth, I'm absolutely fine with. Not ideal, as you can see Semenyo is starting, but it is what it is. We buy Munoz for those attacker returns. Then Trent at home against Leicester, followed by Gabriel at home against Ipswich. No-brainers in the team. In terms of the midfield, we've got Bruno Fernandes away against Wolves. Gordon at home against Aston Villa, which I'm a little bit excited about. That could be a brilliant differential this week. Palmer at home against Fulham, Salah at home against Leicester, who will be picking up the captaincy. I am more than happy with that. And then Semenyo at home against Crystal Palace, with the front 2 of João Pedro and Cunha. Now, if you said to me right now that this is going to be the team for game week 18, I would be absolutely fine with it. But when we come down to the fixtures in isolation for game week 18, these are filtered by difficulty. Obviously, the best one is Arsenal at home against Ipswich. But the only thing I have there is going to be a Gabriel. I have no attacking players in that fixture, which does feel a little bit wrong. So we need to have a little bit of an understanding where I can maybe take a -4 for an Arsenal attacker who is also going to provide long-term potential for my team. So we need to have a think about that. Brighton at home against Brentford, I've got João Pedro. I'm content with that as my only option. And of course, I've got Salah and Trent for the home game against Leicester. A lot of talk about Diogo Jota, a lot of talk about Luis Diaz. I love it, but I have no certainty about their minutes over the next few game weeks. And remember, we're not buying a player for just one game week in isolation. It is for a longer term perspective. So I'm happy with my Trent-Salah combination right now. Man City, I just can't trust the team right now, especially against an Everton that have been good. And Man United, I'm not investing in any further Man United outside of Bruno Fernandes. So outside of that, those are the only fixtures I'm a little bit scared of. No Arsenal attack and no further Liverpool attack. So how could we actually improve this? And of course, no Alexander Isak. So I've already touched on it. A really easy move for me to make and just stop being naive is to bring in Alexander Isak as part of a -4. And the team would look like this. I would have to sell Cunha because, of course, he's the only cash cow in my team. And then going into game week 19, again, my team would look like this. Isak away against Man United actually doesn't look terrible after what we saw against Bournemouth. And I think the team looks absolutely fine for game week 19. So I think Isak could pay off the -4 over the next few weeks. The problem is with Cunha, I do think that he is a great pick for this week. So I think Man United are still very, very erratic. But when we look at the long-term fixtures, Spurs, Forest, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, I think with Cunha, eventually I have to accept that he's got to be sold at some point, even though he's been so good for the team. And I think almost just being like, just get it done this week, and what will be beyond this point is probably the logical play. The only thing is with 2.1 million in the bank, if I just want to ignore Alexander Isak, and I know that is very, very naive, something that I could do potentially is be a bit more rogue. Now, what I could do is if I wanted to, could I maybe get rid of a certain Vissa and bring in Gabriel Jesus after that fantastic performance in game week 17 and go really, really rogue? It would mean Jesus would probably come in for Semenyo, who would sit on my bench once again, and we would go for the ultimate differential play in Gabriel Jesus at home against the Ipswich team, who are just inevitably going to ship goals against Arsenal. Coming into game week 19 then, my team would look like this. Once again, I'd be happy with that bench because I think Fulham are decent at home. It'd be Gabriel Jesus away against Brentford, João Pedro away against Aston Villa, and Cunha away against Spurs, which again isn't terrible. The problem, I still have no Isak in the side. So Gabriel Jesus is also raising his hand. But for me, at the time of recording, I'm really happy with that move to Bruno Fernandes because, as you can see, it allows me to open up the avenue to Gabriel Jesus as a bit of a punt. We also need to remember that Kai Havertz is going to be playing each and every week, and he is 7.9 million. That is also a consideration for me. I could do Vissa to Kai Havertz and bring him in as a differential forward if I do think that he is a better pick long term than Gabriel Jesus. So I haven't ruled out a -4 either for Havertz, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Am I just being completely naive? Should I just get the Cunha to Isak move done for a -4? Or is it an opportunity for me to maybe go a bit sideways and chase some of the other upside forwards in the game? Regardless, Bruno Fernandes is coming in for Saka. Let me know your plans in the comment section. Yes, guys, okay, that's going to wrap up today's Game Week 18 transfer plans video. As I mentioned, Saka is leaving the building for Bruno Fernandes. I am certain of that. So as always, if you have any questions, please do drop them in the comment section. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and smash the subscribe button. I will be dropping a Christmas Eve video for you in the morning, just doing a big preview of the upcoming game week and also doing a team selection within that if I do make an additional transfer with my team. Have an amazing Christmas, but I will see you before that Christmas day, and I will speak soon. Cheers.